to FanCorner, your favorite nerdy, unhinged podcast. Today joining me is Jolaire, the beautiful co-host. Woo! And
Yay!
then me, I'm boring. You know me, I'm Rachael. Okay. Okay, so let's do our high mids before we get into the main topic, which is finally Onyx Storm. We got our shit together.
Finally.
Okay. So what is your high this week, Jolaire?
My high, I thought of how I got to hang out with Rachael over the weekend, and we had our annual Valentine's Girls' Day, and we went to brunch, and then we went to go see a play together, and it was delightful.
We saw Persuasion, like the Jane Austen adaptation, but as a play, and it was so fucking cute. Okay, honestly, I have to tell you what just happened. My cat, I just saw Cornerman jumped into a box, and they're like 3 stacks high. It's like my 3D blue French horns. I don't know how he did that. He's gonna, like, we're suddenly gonna hear a crash halfway through the podcast episode.
He's an icon.
We loved him. Yes, we saw Persuasion. It was actually pretty good.
I really liked it. It was really fun. They did a really good job.
Julaire's commentary made it phenomenal. So even if it had been a bad production, it wouldn't matter. But so my high is the proofs for my fairy tale came. So obviously it won't say that. It's because it's a proof. But my fairy tale came. And so it's just really exciting to see it. My hardcover proofs come tomorrow.
Ooh.
Like afternoon. I'm like
really excited.
Hoping it turns out, but I'm excited too. And I also got new stickers for the book launch. So it's a little teddy bear holding the sword. I don't know. It's from the dedication page. I just think it's pretty iconic. So
I love that it's sparkly.
Let's bring it down. What's your mid?
Oh gosh. My mid is that this past week I went to go pick up a candle at this like candle making place that I went to at the beginning of the month. And and the whole experience was fun. Loved it. But I got my candle and then I sniffed it and I hated how it smelled. So like when I made it, I liked how it smelled. But then now I hate it.
It kind of sets differently. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. So like the glass and everything looks cute. So maybe like I haven't tried burning it or letting it melt or anything. But upon initial just like sniff, I hate it.
I don't think that's gonna get better then. But it's cute.
Yeah. So it was really cute. Yeah. So one, I was like, oh, I hope they still have it. So I called them to make sure they hadn't like gotten rid of it. Yeah. Well, like what they do with candles that just get abandoned is that they'll sell them for like $10. And that money goes to charity.
Why were you late coming to get this candle?
I thought they would text me to come pick up my candle.
Okay, so that's fair. Yeah, you're like...
All I had was a receipt.
Did you give me your phone number?
Yeah, I had a receipt with my phone number and everything on it, and it said, like, come in, like, 4 days or something. But I thought they would text me as a reminder, and I got nothing.
What if you had showed up and it wasn't done, and you were like... Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it smells bad.
I think scents are really hard to like layer in a way that's actually good. Like I'm really weird about my candles. Pretty much only like Trader Joe's ones.
Trader Joe's ones are good.
Brand at Target back when we shopped at Target. That was really on the level, but then they stopped making it.
Oh, the one that was in the cool jar that we both have?
Those were really nice, and they had this like these ones that were like just kind of one scent, like lavender, like they weren't trying too hard. Because I feel like often like sure I like these different scents, but you throw them together in a candle, it's kind of like I don't want my house to smell like cologne. That's not what I'm going for.
I kind of do because I don't live with a man. Sometimes, because
well then we could just spritz cologne in your house. I feel like that would be the better. Like coming out of your candle, it's a little weird.
I don't know. I mean, I've smelled some really good candles that smell like a nice man's cologne, and I'm all up sniffing that. So, anyways,
so I'm just a weirdo.
Yeah. I'm a weirdo. I admit to sniffing candles that smell like hot men. Okay.
I'm not judging you. Yeah. So my
what is yours?
Is that I'm having to wait There's still 2 more days before the next drop of Love Is Blind comes out.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's all I think, invested, bitch. I am invested. Okay. There's one
It's
couple this year that I think is actually in love, and that's so beautiful to watch. But then also, it's the girls standing on business that I'm obsessed with. Like, because men will often try to play girls in the plot. Like, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm committed to you," but then they'll tell another girl that they're committed to them, and like, you're like, what?" And like, the
sus.
girls won't know until the show comes out, like a
Mm,
year later, because these were all filmed a year ago.
yeah,
So the girls won't know until they see it on TV, and they maybe even have married this man, and so that's obviously not fucking great. But this
that's horrible.
season, yeah, it is horrible. This season, there's been multiple women standing on business and like telling each other, like, "Hey, this motherfucker told me this, by the
Mm-hmm.
way," and then
Mm-hmm.
like letting them make their own decisions. And honestly, I'm here for it. And also, there's a man who's like categorically known as the villain this season.
Uh-huh.
Human being.
Yeah.
Talk about red pill. But he's his first reaction when he met women in the pods was like, "Well, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you here? Why are you single?
It's
Clearly
like,
you're
well, then
pregnant."
what's wrong with you? Why are you here?
No, right? But it's different because we're women, Jolaire. But here's what's funny. He literally said he's obsessed with how he's like, "Well, I work in aesthetics, like surgical stuff."
Yeah.
So he's like, "So I just like I'm used to a certain kind of way that a woman should look with like butt lifts and nose jobs and like blah 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 blah." And I'm trying to like move past that, right? Like I'm trying to grow. But like,
Yeah,
okay,
and so you you auditioned for a reality show. Okay.
yeah, because he was like, because I'm showing myself I can fall in love without looks.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Because
it
they
is
don't
Love is
see
Blind.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I've never watched the show. I've just heard a lot about it.
Yeah,
So
I'll
is
talk about
this
it.
so yeah. So like is this next drop that you're talking about kind of like a part 2 of the season or
So it's a
like
part
is it
three.
a whole new yeah thing?
Okay, so it's part three. So
Okay.
they've really drawn it out this season. So they meet each other in pods. So like they can't see each other and they fall in love through the wall. And they
Mhm.
engage, they propose that way.
Okay.
And then if they choose to propose, they get to see each other for the first time, like on screen, like they see what each other looks like. No one ever is like, "Oh, this person's ugly," but every year you can tell someone thinks that. Um, but
Mhm.
then they go on a trip, like a tropical vacation together. Then they come back for 2 weeks, and then they go back to their real lives, so their jobs. They have their cell phones back. They're meeting friends and family. So the whole thing takes place over 6 weeks, and the idea is, will they walk down the wedding aisle and say yes at the end of 6 weeks to this
Okay.
person that they got deeply connected to in the pods? So
Mhm.
it's like batshit crazy,
Yeah, okay. So
honestly.
then is each segment like 2 weeks then of time?
Yeah, more or less. They entered the real world for a minute, which is where that guy who's like, first of all, so ugly. The guy who's like, women have to be the hottest. I was like, you are medium ugly at best. Like, I'm not saying you're the low end, but you are not the high end, my friend. Like, I
Mhm.
think he did that thing where he put a bunch of filler in his face.
Oh
Like, he
gosh,
looks
yeah.
like fucking JD Vance. That's what he looks like. So, like, if we added some eyeliner, it would just be JD Vance. But they
Mhm.
went to a cycling class with his girlfriend and, well, fiance, and it was so funny because, like, he was like getting his ass wiped by all these women. And that's what's making this season so fun. Is it just feels like women's fan business. Because here's this man who's like, women need to look a certain way. And then he's like, I'm really athletic and like, I ran track or whatever in college. And it's like, that was 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah, for
that
real.
happened with anything. And he's just like beat fucking red. Like looks like he's gonna pass out. The instructor's like, smile! And he's like, nothing. Anyway, so they're back in the real world. So we'll probably see the last week of them in the real world, and then the wedding day is what the next
Okay.
drop will be. And then there's like a year reunion, which they might unfortunately be doing as a whole separate drop.
Cause
Because
say that just sounds kind of like The Bachelor after the final rose bit,
sure.
where it was kind of like a year later at this point, or at least 6 months, and it'd be
Yes.
a live, like more or less kind of like a live show type thing.
It's kind of interesting because that, yeah, anyway, I won't get into it too much. I
Yeah.
could talk about this for a whole episode. I've been forced
But
to
that's
cry.
not what we're here for.
So we're gonna get into the main topic now that I've thoroughly distracted us.
Yes, this is
This
my
week.
dragon.
Oh, okay, that's perfect. A dragon for Onyx
Yeah.
Storm.
Yeah, this
What,
is my dragon. He's
what's
my
it saying?
emotional his name is Nacho.
Nacho.
Yeah.
Nacho the dragon.
Yeah.
Because it's Nacho Dragon. I don't know. That was really
Yeah.
bad.
So he's my emotional support stuffy, and it's very appropriate because we're talking about dragons.
That's perfect. You're his bonded rider. So.
Yes. Yes, I am.
So today we're talking about Onyx Storm. So first, let's talk about what that opening week was like. Because it was a little crazy.
Yeah. It was a little crazy. There was a lot going on the day it came out. Yikes.
Well, so, it's interesting too because so many people, we had the inauguration the day before this book came out. And the TikTok ban the day before that. And I think this added this sense of like surrealness to the whole book launch because it's like we thought we were losing TikTok and then we didn't. Like people are saying goodbye to their book talk besties, but then they're back.
Yeah. It was so and then also there was like kind of like same thing happened with Iron Flame where like random targets had Onyx Storm early.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So they weren't they weren't letting people buy them, is my understanding. Like if you took it to checkout, they said you couldn't buy it. But I bet some people switched some dust jackets to buy it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I saw a TikTok where somebody did that.
I would at least fucking just read it. Like I'd just be in the.
I mean, yeah, I would just sit and read. You know what I'm saying?
There's that Starbucks. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you my money in 2 weeks. Like if you're gonna put it out early, you sons of bitches.
Right?
Well, it's funny too because so this launch they were much more prepared for it than Iron Flame. They knew the demand, and yet multiple bookstores still sold the fuck out day up. Still sold out. So I was lucky enough to get this beautiful cover.
Same.
I see both. Don't mind my tabby. What is this tabby for? I actually don't even know. Oh my god, this is hilarious. I don't know why I tapped this. I'm gonna figure this out the second this is over. But I got this from a local bookstore and like no one was there. And I was like, hee hee hee. Like
nice.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I pre-ordered mine through Barnes & Noble.
Oh, okay. That's why you probably because you got yours the day after launch, right?
Yes.
That explains a ton because there were so many people that like posting on Instagram stories and talking about it online. Like people I know even. Like Royal Coven, the girl that makes my sweatshirts, hers didn't come from her Amazon pre-order for 2 fucking weeks.
Jeez.
Like, I don't know what was happening, but like, can you imagine? Like, you think you would have canceled it and bought a different one. But when they were selling out in person, it got complicated.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think, but here's the good thing about that. Amazon, well, first of all, Amazon's just a bunch of idiots. So just don't pre-order your books on Amazon, guys. Like, if you have another option, use the other option. Use BarnesandNoble.com.
Yeah.
But what?
Oh, please finish what you were saying.
Okay. But what's good about this is how many people are in the fandom. This fandom is clearly still growing and well outside of the girlies that normally read fantasy. Like this is like a transformational series now. It's breaking genre barriers. People that don't read fantasy or romance are reading this book. And that is so amazing to see.
It's like kind of like how ACOTAR broke a lot of barriers for people. This is the next wave.
Absolutely the next wave. Because people forget because, Book Talk resurgenced it for a while. But ACOTAR came out in the 2010s.
Yeah, it's old.
It's old. It's had great resurgences, but like to be like live in this fandom while these books are coming out is so fun. And like I know there's a lot of people hating on it online, as with any transformational Twilight, Harry Potter, any of these books that really break genre rules, people feel the need to just attack and take them down. When I don't see anyone complaining about Red Rising, bitch. But I digress because he's not big enough. But I just think it's so exciting to see. Like, I know Brandon Sanderson talked about at Nexus Dragonsteel. Mistborn hit the New York Times bestseller list for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Ever. Like, it had never hit it before. And he got up on stage talking about it, and he said, you know, a lot of new people are coming to this fandom. Like, I attribute this to Book Talk, and I attribute this to the romantasy girlies. And he was like,
Yeah.
so stop fucking gatekeeping them. Didn't say the F word.
Yeah, but
But
like,
yeah.
no, truly, it was iconic because, yeah, like even just being on Book Talk right now, it was so wild to be like, oh, Miss Borden's having a resurgence when I read it like 10 years ago. And like Brandon Sanderson was still kind of like low key, you know?
Yes, I think Book Talk's making books, first of all, old books come back around. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I think we're seeing people, because of books like ACOTAR, like Onyx Storm, we're seeing people start to branch into fantasy that never would have touched it before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's making fantasy more accessible, more fun. And so then once you realize, oh, I do like reading about dragons. Like, it's not just because there's this romance. You
Mm-hmm.
exactly. You're asking around, what other fantasy books should I read? And people start getting into those like bigger fantasy reads. And that's
Totally.
so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Which, speaking of, we have to talk about. As a
Mm-hmm.
transformational book, not only is it getting hated on by random men and pick-me's on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
but it is also getting hated on by major fucking newspapers across the country. Like,
Great.
there were so many headlines about how when it was selling out, like the day of launch, they were like, "Oh, Onyx Storm, the newest trend is dragon smut."
Jeez.
What are you talking about?
It's the whole fairy porn thing all over again.
Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, okay, yes, it's tiresome. Like, the
Yeah.
misogyny is tiresome. But secondly, can we just talk about dragon smut for a minute? Because
Yeah.
with fairy smut, at least we're talking about these women in some of those book series that were being accused of being fairy smut were falling in love with fae men.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
dragon smut makes it like, if you knew nothing about this
No,
world,
it makes it seem like there's dragon fucking, and there's absolutely
yes.
not.
And I know that there is like
There is stuff
is
for that.
erotica that's like
Yes.
bestiality stuff, and so I could see people thinking that that's what people were reading. So
Totally.
these headlines, it's like very misleading.
They're very deceiving. Jeez.
There's this girl that went through and counted up all the pages that have like sexually explicit content on it in the Fourth Wing series, and it ends up like mathematically, it's a little bit more than ACOTAR actually.
Okay.
But it's still like literally under 5%. I think it's just at 5%.
Yeah. It's so funny. Because, like, especially now that I know that fact with these books, I can whip that fact out. Because, like, my favorite is just talking with people and they're like, yeah, ACOTAR is, whatever. And it's like what we've talked about loads of times. And I'm like, dude, it's literally a smidgen of the whole book. Okay? So back off.
Like, one book, it's one scene. Like I'm sorry, can you not skip ahead 2 pages? Like, what are you even talking about?
I know, right?
It's so interesting. You know, for me, actually, so this is not shaming the smut at all, but I actually don't like the smut. It makes me uncomfortable.
In general or in this book series?
Definitely in this book series.
Okay. Just checking.
No, it's a great check. I think I tend to be very picky about my smut. Like, if there's gonna be a sexually explicit scene in a book, it's very rare where I'm like, oh yeah, this was fun to read. Like, it's very rare for me. I think often it feels cringy. If I'm doing it on audiobook, I can't even do it. Like, I turn beat fucking red, bitch. Like, it's not, I can't handle it. And like, especially the Fourth Wing dramatic audios, you've done those, right?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
Sound effects.
I know, it's so crazy. I was laughing the whole time. They did their best, but it's so funny.
Getting off to this, and I'm like, women are laughing to this bitch.
We are laughing. It's so funny.
I do think, obviously people like this, but and it's important to see consensual sexual relations where women are like, their pleasure isn't being like sidelined. Yeah. However, I actually prefer yearning. Like, I love
a man who yearns.
I love the yearning. I love those romantic, really well written moments, like before the sex, or like, you know what I mean, or like the first kiss or something like that. Those get my heart pumping way fucking more. So like it's
Yeah.
kind of funny to be accused of like reading dragon smut and like, you know, not reading high literature when literally it's like, no one, what the fuck are you even talking about, bro? It's
Yeah.
not, there's so many complex fantasy mechanisms in these books.
Right? It's actually so funny that you bring up yearning, because I was talking about like bring back yearning in like just media with a couple of girlfriends recently. And so I made a meme that was like is this a pigeon? And it's the butterfly, you know, the guy with
Yeah.
the butterfly. And so I put like just like, is this yearning?
Yearning is, it makes it hotter than when there is that smut. And
Yeah,
so it's like,
totally.
we need to have more of it. But also, I want to be clear that this is a fantasy series. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people hear romantasy, and like, for me, I picture like filthy rich vampires,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, I knew nothing of, like, he's a vampire, but he might as well not be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a romance book just with some fantasy spice on the
Yeah.
top. You know, like this is a full-fledged fantasy with multiple magic systems, and to be honest, there's one or two of the magic systems I'm still confused about. And
Yeah.
this is my second read through.
Same. I mean, heck, like when we both first started to read the book, we were like, who the fuck are these people? And then like went back and reread Iron Flame. We both, well, Rachel was like intentionally rereading both books before Onyx Storm came out. I was like, I'm not going
You
to.
were like, I'm gonna be fine.
And then like,
you were like, I'm not fine.
yeah, and I was like, wait, just kidding. So then I listened to the first two books, dramatized audio versions, which were, I really enjoyed those. And then I went into Onyx Storm. And also, part of why it took us forever to have this episode like a month later, or, you know, more later after its release, is because I got sick for a whole week and reading was the one thing I did not want to do. And then I finished last night. Actually, no, it was yesterday morning. Yeah.
Because I had the most dramatic audio for she's just screaming.
Yeah, no, that was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday morning. Because I was on my way to work and I just sent the most dramatic audio where I was screaming about the end. Because I just finished it.
You know, it is a really long book.
It's a hut. Here, sorry, continue.
It's 524 pages, and the text in this is tiny. I swear to God, that was not the normal size text.
Yeah. Iron Flame, it's so crazy because I felt like this book was so long, and Iron Flame is 100 pages longer.
Oh my God.
Like, for realsies.
It makes sense that it's taking a lot of people a while to get through these books because they are hefty books.
Yeah.
In terms of like word count.
Yeah. The text in these books have always been tiny and I hate it.
Literally, it drives me up a wall because I love reading books, as you know, physically for the first time before I do an audio. And so I feel like this hurt my vision because I did binge read it. I was confused, but I gave myself only a day to not be confused, and then I just figured it out.
You also were tandem reading too.
I was, which was unhinged. So I was reading this physically, but then I was listening to, because I had made it to Iron Flame on audiobook. So when I would be getting ready in the morning, I'd be doing Iron Flame. But then when I would sit to read, it was Onyx Storm, which honestly was unhinged of me. But was a vibe nonetheless. But yeah, I did end up binge reading it, and just like, you know, I think it took me 4 or 5 days, even with a binge. It's a hefty book, but there were some really fun moments, which you texted me right when I thought you would.
I am nothing if not predictable.
I literally audibly screamed when the prince comes on the stage. The crown prince. Okay? I was the crown prince of Valaris for some reason, even though it's not correct. He comes on the stage, and it turns out, because of course, and we felt it coming, he dated Violet before.
Yeah, because literally, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because, like, during my re-listen, Violet has made a couple of comments where it's like she has dated previous people. We just didn't know who they were, you know, because it wasn't important. Okay.
Well, it wasn't Dain, so yeah, we just knew she dated somebody.
Yeah. And then, like, the text leading up to his entrance and her, like, talking about him, however she was wording it. I'm like, oh no, this person's gonna be important. Oh my gosh, no, she totally dated them. And then I was like, oh my gosh, they did date.
He, of course, was like so flirtatious and I was screaming. Brian was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it was crazy. It was so fun. And then, of course, Zayden gets possessive.
Of
Zayden
course.
completely loses his shit from across the arena. It's in the middle of a class. He comes over and he like I don't remember what he did, but he like put his arm around her and he said something about
I know he definitely did some shadow stuff.
Absolutely he did. And
you know.
again, this is the prince, okay? And he just blatantly disrespects the prince to be like, yeah, actually she is mine and I did hear what you said. So
Yeah, for real.
It was so funny. I was into it though.
Yeah, it was actually, it was really fun. It was a fun break in the book for a moment for me.
Because I mean, it's obviously fantasy's serious, right? Like the whole world's about to die. Everyone's gonna become venom. Like literally, the ground's getting leached of all its power. War. You know, like we're talking intense stuff, and so to have this like kind of fun rom-com moment where you're like, I was never obviously Team Prince. Like the prince is an idiot.
Yeah, no,
but it was
he's
so fun to give Zayden a chance to be jealous.
Oh yeah, because it was just really funny. Because we know like the prince doesn't stand a chance, but like it was so fun that he still kind of kept trying.
Sure.
Regardless, like he was cocky enough to keep trying.
Okay, and can you believe? Let's talk about how he cheated on her.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I literally was like, ew. I didn't like him anyways. Disgusting. Get him out of here.
Okay, and not only did he cheat on her, Violet came in on it.
Yeah, and it was with a teacher.
He cheated on him. He cheated on her lazily.
With a teacher.
With a teacher. Like he wasn't trying to hide it. I feel like it's almost hard to be caught, like in your rooms. It's like, yeah, he was doing it in his room. Probably, it sounds like. Probably. Like, because she walked in. Like, whatever. Like, you almost had to be trying to get caught. And now that she's Violet Sorrengail, you know, I'm bonded to 2 dragons, and one of them's the 7th breed, like, suddenly he wants her back. I just love this revenge for Violet of, like, yeah, this bitch-ass man cheated on you. And that moment of, like, you're dead to me, and this is the biggest mistake you've ever made in your fucking life. And then, yeah, he ends up regretting it. And I love that. I love to see it.
We love it. It was so satisfying.
Especially when then he gets his ass handed to him much later in the islands. Because it's being a whiny baby and trying to steal. Like, that was pretty excellent with the tigers.
Yeah.
Say less. Although I did feel bad for his guard that was killed. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
Because while he's a little bitch, he didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
That was pretty dark. Okay. Speaking of fun things, what are you going to say?
I was just going to say, I just realized we didn't really say our overall feelings and thoughts on the book.
I liked this better, I think, than previous books. I feel like Rebecca Yarros is cooking. The spices are starting to marinate. Like, I think, you know, as is traditional in fantasy, it took a while to get into it. And then for me, I really liked the pacing of it. I know a lot of people did. I loved it. I loved seeing like more of the world. I love seeing more of the magic systems. I love seeing our main character isn't just overpowered. She's like struggling to figure out how to use her lightning in an effective way, like against people who've been around much, much longer than her. I think that that's fun. Like I'm loving seeing the constraints of the world. And also I think I've never, since ACOTAR, I've not seen a book that has so thoroughly had me go, oh, wait, you're right, that was fucking toxic in a really long time. And I think it's really good for me to have those checks in my own life and good for all of us to have those checks in our own lives, but especially as misogyny is on the rise. Yeah. And so we'll get into what that moment was later. But so for me, this book just was about like power and coming into it and things like that. And anyway, I'm waxing too poetic about it. I really liked it. What did you think, Julia?
I did really enjoy it. I was one of the people in the camp that did not like the pacing that much. I was bored a lot for the first half of the books up until like we finally got on our adventure to the islands. But I also recognized that like I So I kind of remember I had similar-ish thoughts about Iron Flame when it first came out. And upon like a re-listen, I was like, oh, this was paced great. So I want, like it was great. And I just remember being like, oh man, yeah, like Violet complained so much in Iron Flame. And I'm like, bitch, she complained enough. Like she had the right to
It was
do
the
everything.
right amount.
It was it was the right amount. Like I support her choices there, And so I think just like in this case for me, having now read it, I want to reread it.
Sure.
To, give it another chance is kind of the wrong thing, but you know what I mean. Like I feel like I need a second read through because initially it's like, okay, when's it gonna get good? Like I was so hype that I was like, I'm bored. I'm disappointed that I'm bored right now. So now that I know where we kind of ended up, I think I can enjoy the journey more with a reread.
It's interesting because where this book is such a hyped release, that makes it really fun, right? People dressing up, going to midnight premieres. That's all very fun. But it also comes with the double-edged sword of, I think it makes it difficult because we're adding so much expectation to it that I think it's hard to just like kind of go into it with a clean slate like you would if it was just a book you picked up.
Right.
And so I think it makes a lot of sense, especially because people were posting about it everywhere. So it's like you're like seeing people. I hated, can I just say,
yeah,
it drove me up a fucking wall because like people were really good to be like spoilers ahead for the most part.
I literally saw some of your videos where it said Onyx Storm spoilers, so I was like, get out of here.
That's rule. It has to be up for 2 seconds, which I think hurts my view time, but it's fine. But like I was so annoyed how many people were like, no spoilers, but they were like sobbing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bitch, that's a fucking spoiler. Me knowing you're emotionally wrecked is a spoiler and pisses me off. So I think like you probably saw some of that even though you didn't mean to. There's all this like stuff going on. Like there's podcast pressure. Like I'm not even podcast. I was like, bitch, why the fuck aren't you done? So
I think I wanted to be done so then I could be in the cool kids club of like having read it, and so then TikTok can show me more things about it. Because after I swiped away from a couple of spoilers, I didn't get any Fourth Wing content. Sure. I mean, I did get spoiled for one thing, but then I ended up being kind of wrong about it. So we'll get there eventually. We'll talk about it. Okay. But I was like, I don't know. I just know I personally need to reread it to appreciate it more. I don't think it was bad, but like at least initial thoughts at this time was like, I was kind of bored and I wished it was shorter. But I love what's being cooked up in the later half of the book. It's where she is cooking. We're getting there. Every book we get more in depth. Like when I was listening to Iron Flame, I'm like, I forgot everything that's like happened in the second half of this book that was like major world stuff, and it's important. And I was like, wow, I'm really glad I re-listened to that. So I think I will benefit again from another re-listen, but I didn't hate it.
So I think it's just a great reminder of like, it's funny is I think you would have read it faster had there not been the pressure to be in the cool crowd.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And if I wasn't sick.
But even with that, and I think that's relatable. I think it's really hard when we all as a fandom put pressure on books. I know that happened with the Crescent City 3. Everyone was like, oh my god, this had less ACOTAR characters than I expected. And I was like, we got to stop having too many theories. Like, you want to have fun, you want to engage with things critically with your friends, but I don't think we need to like, I don't know. That's why I don't like to get so into shipping people that I don't like listen to the characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, totally. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
Always.
Let's talk about one of the funnest moments for me and the entire thing. Let's talk about broccoli.
Yeah.
So they go and they see the god of luck. Well, an island that worships the god of luck. And a bunch of people get different little gifts and you have to accept it. And one was a little orange kitty for Drake. And literally we get only 3 lines about this fucking guy. Because we get that line and then we hear him say, how the fuck am I supposed to fly with this?
Yeah.
And then he says the next day when they're at an Onyx Island, which by the way, how the fuck did he have a kitten on it was a 12-hour flight. Like, is it just in his pocket?
The logistics of some of the things that happened where they got from point A to point B, I'm like, I don't know how that worked.
But he mentioned, someone asked him if it has a name, and he says broccoli. And someone gives him crap. They're like, wouldn't it make more sense to be orange because it's orange? And he's like, no. And I thought it was So fucking funny. And what I find really funny about this is, like, for me at least, I was then completely distracted the rest of the series. I was like, where the fuck is Broccoli? Like, where's my Broccoli content? How is he on this wyvern? Like, what's going on? And then Rebecca Yaros was asked in an interview. Actually, she didn't ask multiple times. And I saw one clip where she was like, someone's asking about Broccoli, and she's like, I kind of low key regret writing him in because that's all anyone wants to.
Of course, you write an adorable animal, so everyone wants to know.
Hey, I'm just picturing Broccoli, like, growing up and wanting to be kind of like Andarna was with Taryn. Like, Broccoli probably wants to be like the wyvern, Drake's wyvern, and is like, and like, and then like the wyvern's like, ugh. And then, but like Loki loves it, but like can't nuzzle it because it's like the proportion. I'm just like deeply amused by this like warrior cat. Like, is the cat gonna go into battles with us? Like, I have all kinds of questions.
I know, everyone wants to know. You wrote it, like, she wrote a cute animal companion. Now that's all we care about.
There was this girl on, because I made a TikTok about that, where I was like, literally, I don't give a fuck about anyone else. Why are we not talking more about Broccoli? And I got a bunch of comments, and that's how I found those interviews with Rebecca Yaros, because people were linking me to stuff. There's one girl now who is like, you are now my best friend on TikTok, and she just tags me anytime she sees Broccoli content.
She is building the FYP brick by brick for Broccoli.
I'm like, honestly, I was like, you know what? Honestly, this is iconic. So that was like a really fun little add-in. Also, can we talk about how nice it is to see it be a cat? So often it's a fucking dog. And I'm not anti-dog, but I'm anti-cat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I like a Picasso.
I feel like your dragon is giving Broccoli energy.
Yeah. His name's Nacho, so food.
He's orange.
He is orange.
So it's just like they could be little besties. And they'd be about the same size.
Yeah. Maybe Broccoli needs an emotional support dragon stuffy to snuggle with.
Flying on a wyvern would be stressful. He probably could use that, honestly. Okay, so Zayden's love feels quite different in this book. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. It's such a stark difference from like Iron Flame to here, where like Iron Flame, a big part of him and Violet's conflict was keeping secrets and not being transparent with each other. Whereas like in this book, that it's like not even a problem anymore. Like, obviously Xaden is trying not to die, and there's a whole lot of things at play and like important things, but he always tells Violet what's going on or make sure she's included, and that is slay behavior. We love it.
It is slay behavior. He also, I think a little bit at the beginning we have some of that secret keeping, like when he's talking to Jack on the DL about being a Venom and like what that looks like. But I think he just quickly realizes like he is not going to survive this on his own. And actually, I think he kind of comes to grips with the fact that like he's gonna, not die, but like losing your soul, dying.
Well, I mean, that's why Bodhi's like kind of learning how to take over,
So I think Xaden, like, it makes sense. Like, I think it was this like clarifying sort of series of events for him where suddenly he knows his biggest priorities in life. And one of them is our girl Violet. It's so funny because Iron Flame, he won't say I love you first. For God knows why.
Yeah.
Pride, stubbornness. And this one, he's like, she's my consort. Anything that you say to me can be said to her. Like, if there's a meeting happening, because he becomes elevated to like prince again of his region. Yeah. They're like, oh, this is just for your ears. And he's like, no, she's my consort. She's going to be here. Like, just really asserting his political power to, like, just be like, this is how it's going to be. Like, same. We really see him do that, especially on the islands when our homeboy Prince pisses off that king by trying to steal something. And they come in and it's just like, his entire world is like, no, anywhere I'm going, Violet's going. Like, Violet and me are the same. Not in a controlling way, just in a like, this is a big love. Not like out loud love. And I think that it's really beautiful to see. And I think like watching how they struggle to get there is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's tainted by the fact that we know that he's becoming more and more embedded.
Yeah, and that is a big concern. I would say that's kind of the struggle balance with their relationship this book, because Violet's always like, well, on the opposite end, Violet is so trusting in Xaden and is like, I know he's not going to hurt me when everyone else is so sus of him. And she like is trying to do everything in her power to figure out like a cure. But she still is obviously scared. And so there's just like, I think I'm struggling to explain this, but basically big love on both sides, but definitely from Xaden's.
Yeah, I think Violet's version of big love is moving and the heaven and the earth to find a cure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's Violet's version of big love. And so I think it is equal for sure. I agree with that. And honestly, like, you know, it gives him some banger lines. You know, isn't that what we all want? um, but speaking of Xaden becoming more and more Venom, let's actually circle back to the earlier love interest, Dain Atos. And we all hate Dain, but do we now?
I know, like now do we hate him? I mean, I kind of joke about this where it's like Dain is just a guy. He's just there, you know? At this point, he's kind of just there, but he's not doing anything wrong at this point anymore. You know? He's like the people around him still kind of don't trust him as much, which makes sense. But he's a lot more helpful in this book, and I feel like understands where Violet's at and where she's coming from, if that makes sense.
We've seen him start to break rules more and more. So he's helping more and more with Violet's side of the war. He's part of Quest Squad. You know, he
like, broke into his dad's office for her.
Broke into his dad's office, and that was such a difficult decision, and honestly so risky. And so I think like I know his friends do say like, hey, let's not tell him about Xaden being a Venom because we just don't trust how much he's forgotten. But I you know, at the very end, because he's like, I agree, he's just there. He doesn't have a ton of lines, but when we do get a line, we see his growth so much in it, like breaking into his dad's office, and like in that last battle, Dain, because I forget their titles. You know, he's high up in the army thing, and he's like, he realizes because all the rebels have like a second segment that they've all been hiding, like, you know, teleportation and like different things. And Dane's not a fucking dumbass. And so he starts putting it together, and he's like, they're in the middle of battle, and he's like, and someone's gonna explain to me what the fuck is going on later. Like, you know what I mean? Because he clearly has been putting it together for quite some time. And I just think like it's rare that we see this kind of like slow growth in a character. And I do think it's powerful to watch. And like, okay.
Because like, I also kind of love that besides everything you just said, like Dain is also really smart, and it's been fun to see how he has I guess like he was never going to be a scribe, but he has a lot of similar knowledge that Violet has, like that complements what one lacks, if you know what I mean.
So like he speaks that language that Violet doesn't speak well, you know, and so he has that skill going for him, and we see all these different things. Like I know he doesn't have her critical thinking skills quite as high, but he clearly put in the work. He put in the studying. And actually too, can we talk about how funny it was when they're on Quest Squad and they're finally at the island where he has his language skills, and he's like, okay, I'm here. And then it turns out, I can't remember who it was, but it turns out someone else on Quest Squad could speak the language better than him. And
he's becoming a more likable character than what we started off as, you know? And that's exciting to see that slow growth. Because if we only kept to like these 2 books, it'd be like, whatever. You know, thankfully we have 2 more.
I don't want to be that guy. And I've said this on TikTok, and I think it pissed the girlies off. Maybe the real enemies to lovers here could be Dain.
Yeah, I've seen that take on TikTok before, and I was like, I'm here for it. I would love to be surprised, honestly.
And I think he's like taking up space, and Violet has noticed him taking up space and is like feeling closer to him as a friend. But, like, I think that could quickly turn into something else. Zayden's a veteran. Like, I cannot say that enough. He is full veteran, red eyes, gone to go work with that motherfucking Dark Lord veteran. And I know, because everyone points this out, Rebecca Yarros said that they were endgame. Like, that Xaden and Violet were endgame. But if Xaden were to die...
Oh, yeah.
If Xaden were to die, and I know that in theory that could then somehow kill... Or not in somehow... If Sorrengail were to die, it could kill Taryn, and it could kill her. I'm not an idiot. I know that their lives are tied, but also, it's a fucking magical world. Who the fuck knows? I could see the author of the series being kind of shady and being like, oh yeah, they're endgame, and it being like, till death to thy part kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I could see it. Or, okay, so if he's venom, he's going to be out of the picture, bitch, for a long time. And I don't think Violet's going to ever stop looking for a cure, but maybe, and I'm not saying she's immediately going to run to Dain, but maybe something will grow between her and Dain, and they could have a moment before she's back with Xaden. All I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it would be really interesting anyways to see something like that happen instead of it just always being Violet and Xaden for like 5 books. Yeah. Like, obviously, I just think a journey would be fun. A little journey would be fun. Plus, they've known each other since they were children. So they're always going to, like, on some level, care about each other, right?
Well, we also have that dad moment. Where her dad told that bookkeeper, oh, my daughter, because, like, again, Dain speaks the language, right? They were like, your dad called it. He knew that you were going to be with Dain Atos. It's so nice to meet you both. And then it's, like, really awkward. And, of course, because he has to, Xaden pisses all over her and is like, no, she's mine. You know? Which, respect. I get it, man. Yeah. Like, I'm with you. It was hot. But and Dain goes beet red. It's like a whole thing. But I just think it would be so beautiful if her dad ends up being right. Like, I'd like... Because, again, her and Dain did not date before the series of this book. Her dad did not know her and Dain as a couple.
Yeah.
That was not the plot. Her dad just saw their compatibilities from way back before they even saw it themselves. But I think Dain had some fucking growing up to do, which is what we saw in book 1, where we all wanted to punch him in his little face. He had to man the fuck up. He wasn't ready yet. But I think he is manning the fuck up, and he is becoming the man that I think Violet's dad always thought he would become.
100%, which is so interesting.
And honestly, we haven't had a big fucking death.
Yeah, because this is leading perfectly into, like, just a brief little thing about what I got spoiled for. So I got spoiled, and the spoiler I saw made me believe that Mira died, like died for real.
Sure.
Okay. And so when I got to the point where she was dying, you know, because that did happen, I stopped for the evening because I was just like, I already know she's gonna.
That kind of depression.
Yeah, I was like, I already know she's gonna die. She's gonna be all alone, like, whatever. And so I just took a pause because I was like, I can't deal with this right now because that was the one spoiler I had. Thankfully, it was the only one I had, right? So, you know, there was that. And then obviously if I listened for another like 5 minutes, I would know she wasn't dead. But like a small part of me kind of almost wishes she did die. Hot take.
Well, we know Rebecca has killed people in the past, right?
Yeah.
So I can't help but feel like we have some major deaths coming. And I think that's almost why I'm so hesitant of like this Xaden thing. Also, I hate to be the one to bring this up. Because I actually really love Xaden. I love how he loves Violet.
Yeah.
I think it's so
we are not Xaden haters.
Not Xaden haters, but he's a fucking veteran. Like, I don't... Like, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay? He's a veteran. He has lost his soul, and maybe we can figure it out. Maybe. But, maybe. Like, that's a lot to come back from, ultimately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, speaking of veteran, though.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So we have this moment in the book that really drove this home. It really lampposted. Venons are more common than we think they are. So again, we're in that fighting class. So we're fighting it up. And I think it's that asshole Carr who's like leading the class that day. Because, like, it's supposed to be that they can't kill each other anymore.
Yeah, because apparently killing each other is off the table.
Because, like, they're realizing, oh, it's almost like during war times, it's stupid to just casually kill a bunch of people. I've been saying that as my beef about Fourth Wing since the beginning. Mm-hmm. So I think it's so funny, because, like, yeah, like, why can't you just, if you fall, be disqualified? Like, why do you always have to be dying? I don't get it. But anyway, it's fine, because they could have used you in infantry. It's fine. We're moving on. So they finally grow up, and they realize that's a stupid strategy. But of course, Carr, because he's a dick, is letting this girl be beat up way too much. And so this person's, like, really attacking her with everything they have, and she suddenly, like, draws, because the whole thing with Venom is they draw from the earth, and a circle of earth around her dies. And it means she's drawn from the earth. And it makes her panic, right? Because, like, that's scary. And we know from what Xaden described when he became Venom that he wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna grab this power now.
It was literally like a kind of like a last ditch, like, emergency, like, to save yourself kind of thing.
Didn't consciously be like, I'm gonna become a Venom now.
Yeah, no.
Like, your body's gonna do whatever it needs to do to survive. And, you know, as happens, that this guy goes over, snaps her neck, right? Kills her immediately. But it brings up the really interesting point. There's got to be more Venom than we realize, because there's no way that's only happened to this girl. And so it's probably, like, to the level of Venom where, like, your eyes aren't red yet. Probably happened to other people at Bisgaiath, but they're hiding it. And they're just lucky it hasn't happened in front of someone.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like how, you know, Xaden's an intrinsic, you know, and he knows, like, if that got out, he'd be dead. Also, Violet, with her second signet that she got, the dream walking, she knows she would probably be dead, you know.
Exactly. So of course you're not going to tell people. I think it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot more Venom at the school than we realize. Which actually brings us into Jalaire has this really interesting theory that she texted me the other day. Yeah. Jalaire, who do you think is a Venom?
I think, okay, so part one to this, I don't believe that Daddy Sorrengail is dead. I think he's alive somewhere. And I think he's alive as a Venom somewhere. Okay? And that's why he's dead, you know? Because he wanted to protect his family. You know, we've read his journals and, like, all of his research and stuff. We've gotten glimpses of that. He clearly is so calculated on how everything is to play out, right? He even talked about how important it is that, like, the relationship between Mira and Violet was for things to progress as well. Obviously, we touched on, like, the Dain situation. And we also know that Violet's dad is, like, a very, very smart man, because he was a scribe. So I totally believe he's alive, but he's a Venom somewhere. And then I don't have credit for this. A different friend of mine thought this. They think if he is a Venom, he might be the sage that Xaden would be, like, kind of went off with.
Oh my god. So they think he's like an asshole Venom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Why?
And maybe, like, lost himself in that whole process.
Is there a reason they think he's the sage?
No.
Okay.
It's literally tinfoil hat time. That's really all it is. Because it would be interesting.
Let's see it. You know, especially when you're bringing up how, because when you first said this to me, I was like, Jalaire, you are smoking crack. Also, though, it would completely. Okay. What?
People have also said that maybe I'm less on board with this tinfoil hat theory, but some people have suspected that Brennan could be one too.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like Brennan, if he is a Venom, it would be very recent, like after Xaden became a Venom.
Yeah,
because like of his shock about things. But I feel you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will say, so being a Venom means he's drawing power. Riders obviously know how to draw power more because they've practiced it with their dragon's power. But I could see someone who's not a rider figuring out how to draw power from the earth. So I'm with you on that. It's like, it's more likely because of the skill set of dragon riders. But yeah, sure. Her dad, I think the most compelling part of your argument actually is you brought up how he seems to, like, have thought things through so well about, like, what needs to happen. I kind of feel like it's like, because there's intelligence, and then it's like, do you think he can see the future?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, he had some other form of signet that no one knows about. That's kind of like the one person that can see the outcome of battles, but like
Belgrin, yeah.
yeah, you know, but like
Yeah, so I
something
don't think
along those same lines, you know?
it's interesting because signets seem to be from the dragons, and he hasn't bonded a dragon, like he was a scribe.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, I don't know what that would look like if you had not bonded a dragon and you directly channel from the earth. Who knows what that would look
Yeah,
like?
no, who knows what that would look like, right?
Sure.
Because everybody that, I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like everybody that has become Venom at least was a writer of some sort,
That
you
we know
know,
of.
that we know of, right? So,
Because a lot of them are so old, I don't think we like know where they came from.
yeah. So, and because it's so taboo to, anyways, like we said, it makes sense that there would probably be other people at Betsgaia that are secretly Venom, and maybe there are ones completely outside of the realm of that, like out of their country that are, you know, who knows?
I
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
so
That's a lot of big tinfoil hat time.
sure. I
So
mean,
who knows?
certainly her dad could also technically have foreseen some of these events because there's that whole like weird he dedicated Violet thing, like
Yes, I
to the
forgot about
priestesses.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and when she's fighting on that
Mm,
warrior island, when she's fighting that warrior, the priestess, asks her some questions. And
mhm.
it kind of feels like there's some kind of prophecy. There's some kind of
Yeah.
something about Violet. And
Right.
so I wonder how much of what he knows could be like there's clearly
Yeah.
more going on there than
Right.
we right now
Oh my
know.
gosh. Yeah, totally. Because I remember there's like part of the prophecy, and then Zayden's like, I'm the Venom in her story, or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, what if it is her dad? I don't know.
I mean, what if it's her? Because she could turn men in. Like,
Yeah, she could. Who
I,
knows?
I thought it was interesting that they chose, in true Rider fashion, that clearly these priestesses know some stuff. And I
Yep.
found it interesting that they didn't like ask a bunch of questions. They secured the bag, they secured the armies, but they
Hmm.
didn't like, and the allyship, but they didn't, you would think that you would be like, hey, like, what do you think you
Hey.
know? You know what
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean? Especially for someone with a scribe brain like our homegirl Violet. It was just very interesting to me. I wouldn't
Totally.
be surprised if the Irids somehow can like help cure the famine or something.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the path we're on. Like, I mean, we haven't quite. I mean, we could segue into this, but like, I'm really sus of them as a breed, a dragon breed. Um,
Yeah, so I mean, sus or not, can we talk about how Andarna chooses to leave?
yeah, it broke my heart. It was the only time in the book that I cried. I was in the
I
car driving, so I'm just like crying. I
That is
wasn't
a
like
bad time.
I was not like hard crying to the point where I need to
Sure,
pull over, but like I
sure.
was crying.
So, and I know Andarna asked the Eerie that shows up, she's like, hey, like, won't that kill her? And I know he says to Andarna no because of her bond with Terran. But I feel like Andarna, and I get it, these are her lost people. She's still in a lot of ways like very young.
Yeah,
She's like a dragon
she's
teen.
she's like a teenager. She's trying to
Yeah,
find who she is, and it makes
sure.
sense. That's part of why they started this, you know, island hopping journey quest.
Well, they need them to fire the wards,
Hmm.
to be fair, too.
Yeah.
Which luckily that Eerie did before he left. But like, I think it's wild that Darna didn't ask more questions about that because Violet and Darna didn't stay either. Like that Eerie flies away. He's like, "Hey,
Hmm.
do you want to do this?" And she seems like, "Well, I don't know how to break the
Yeah.
bond."
Well, and this was also importantly after the fact where she like met with them all as a group and told them her story, and they kind of were like, nah, like didn't accept her, right?
Yeah.
And so then it was after that where this one dragon comes and has this talk. So
Yes. But like, she doesn't ask questions about like what this will mean for Violet. She also doesn't stick around to see if Violet's okay, even though they can't talk anymore.
mhm,
Like mind to mind with that bond suppressed or whatever it happened
yeah,
to the bond. She also though doesn't fucking Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, she literally left Violet, and Violet almost dies. And
Yeah.
I think something that doesn't happen, obviously, dragons leaving their riders, like, they bond to you for a fucking reason. And so, like, they're tying their life force to you. And so for Indarna to leave that, I can't imagine the kind of abandonment issues you would develop.
Oh, yeah.
Because if a dragon bond's higher than any bond in the world, it's higher than love, it's higher than anything.
Like there's a reason why they talk that, like, if, the dragon dies for whatever reason, you die. Like,
and
you kind of,
sometimes the dragons die if their riders died. Like Tan probably would if Violet died. So Indarna leaves. A huge betrayal from Indarna. Like, I'm really struggling to move on from it. But Taryn comes because, like, Violet's collapsed.
Yeah.
And all she can say is she left us. She
just said she's gone. She said she's gone multiple times, which
over and over again.
Broke me.
And Taryn is like, but we remain.
How powerful is that?
And he opens his bond to her like unfiltered access. Like, normally he has his walls up or whatever, but so obviously she goes into a huge depression. Like, she can't move. She can barely breathe.
Yeah, literally. I think she was like, in bed for like a week or something like that.
It might have been fucking. Taryn's bond is completely 100% open to her at all times, which she's never experienced before. And I just think about the love of that, like, because I think it was so good for her to hear, like, people talking, whatever Taryn's talking about. Yeah, he's fighting with Sorrengail, he's talking to them, period. All those things, like, because then she's not just in her room alone with her thoughts. And also, I think it was a way to show, like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I'm right here. I'm not leaving you. I'm never going to leave you.
Yeah.
Because, and also, like, Taryn raised Indarna, like, low-key. Like, she's kind of his hatchling. And so the pain, like, Indarna used to want to be like Taryn. That's why she manifested her eeriness. Like, she chose to show up as a black dragon at first. And so the pain for Taryn of her leaving, too, must be so high. I don't know. The whole thing was crazy. I have to say, though, I think Indarna was back a lot longer than we think. She was back. Like, because I know in the battle, suddenly, like she's like, oh, Indarna's right here. Like, she can tell from the shimmering.
Oh, yeah.
Like, after everything's gone down, Violet realizes that Indarna's with her.
Yeah.
Because she can just barely say the iridescentness. And so it makes me wonder where Indarna can be so invisible. I think Indarna, and this is giving her a lot of grace, right? Because what she did sucked. But, like, I go with him very long. Like, I wonder if she let the bond get severed, but then immediately was like, I fucked up. I need to come home. But, like, felt embarrassed by that decision.
Totally. That would make sense. I will say, like, obviously it sucked that she did leave, but I did respect how Violet let her choose.
Oh, absolutely.
That, like, they're leading up to that with everything she said about, like, being like, is this what you want? I really admired that as well. But yeah, I wonder if she truly did leave because she's back so soon. And I'm like, then why did she leave?
The time, I can't remember.
Time is kind of funky in these books.
It was at least a few weeks, though. But that's in some ways not very long for that long of a flight. So, like, she could have still been. I still think she could have been there, and we just not known. Like, how long was she gone? We don't know. But I definitely think, Violet, what an act of love to be like, yeah, you need to do what you need to do, Indarna. But I think the reason I have beef with it, though, is because the lack of love, and she's a teenager and she fucked up. She gets to come home. That's fine. But for me, I think about, like, not checking on Violet and making sure she can survive without the bond. So, like, Violet shows all this love to Indarna by asking, is this what you want? I want what you want. But I feel like Indarna didn't do the same by making sure Violet could survive. Because if Violet could survive, that would be one thing.
That'd be different. Yeah.
That would be different. But, like, I think if Violet was a less resilient human, she would have died. Like, I don't think that was a guaranteed you're gonna live thing. Like, that was not depression. That was like, she almost fucking died, bitch. Like, Taryn repeatedly has to tell her to breathe. Like, she was not breathing. Like, I think her heart almost stopped because of the trauma. So, I think that's where it's kind of rough for me. Although, you could argue that maybe Indarna flew off because she was like, I don't know how. Maybe she flew off after the Erie to be like, go put it back. Like, put my bomb back. What did you do to my bomb? Like, maybe. And maybe immediately was trying to fix it, but we just really don't know.
Yeah, we have no clue. And like, I don't trust that Erie that went off with her. Cause like, it's like their whole little dragon kind is like, oh, we're all about peace and like whatever, and you know, which is fine, but just the vibes of it seems to be, it's like, oh, like kind of almost a front to me, that there's actually like other stuff kind of sus that's happening beyond that. And I'm so like curious about if that whole kind of rejected Andarna, why did this one dragon come for her?
And that he is not her father, but like of her line. So like he would be her closest thing to a living relative. Like they're all the same species, but he would be the closest thing to a living relative. He would be her actual family. So I do think that
that's a little different
context to that.
But I'm still
I do think it's sus to me because they're like, oh, how could you do all these evil things? Which I want to be clear, the Empyrean is evil. Like the Empyrean, like we're just gonna blow up humans for no reason. We're gonna, if a human runs, we're gonna fire them. Like it's a little crazy. Like, but, you know, so the truth's somewhere in the middle. But the Irids, you know, they act like everything that Andarna was talking about was crazy. And to be fair, I think she was purposely acting a little warmongery because she was trying to impress them the way she would impress the Empyrean.
Yeah, because I mean that's all she knows.
A little lover girl. Yeah, Ari's a little lover girl. But anyway, she I can't help but think about, you know, they're like pointing out all these things that Ari did that was fucked up, but like I'm like, you left a dragon egg as a test in like what you consider to be a violent society's like dragon society. What the fuck do you mean? You left a dragon egg as a test?
Right?
Not a full dragon, an egg. You left a hatchling in a fucking war zone. What? As a test. And they're like, it's not your fault, but like clearly the, you know, the period's not changed. And I'm like, you want to talk about evil, bro? Like that was really
pretty fucked up.
Like you could have. I think what's crazy is the Irids could have at any point have flown over to the Empyrean and probably snuck in because they're invisible once again, just to see. Okay, have they changed? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so I do think that like kind of lends itself to like, yeah, there's something sus.
There's something.
It's definitely hypocritical, bare minimum.
Yeah, totally.
My stupid watch is like, stand up, you dumb bitch. Calm down. It's fine. I promise. We're just podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taryn's relationship with Violet and sort of being there for her, to me, is the crux of the whole book, bitch. Taryn encouraging her and helping her come up with different maneuvers. Because, you know, obviously when she scales the obstacle course to get to the flight field in book 1, and does it differently than everyone else with the knife trick, you know, that was her own ingenuity. But like, you know, I think of the flight maneuver, the running landing and stuff, where she was like, how the fuck are we gonna do that? And Taryn helps her figure these things out. For her body.
And he repeatedly says like, I chose you for this reason, when she like doubts herself or like whatever. You know, he totally believes in her.
Their relationship's just so beautiful. And I think, conversely, I think he needs Violet. I think he's a little too salty. Like,
he's a sassy, salty dragon, you know?
Yeah. but we love him. And so I think that their relationship in some ways, I think is funner to watch how they help each other grow than any male-female relationship.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And shout out for Riddick, because he's gay. Our bisexual king over there.
Yeah. So. He had some great one-liners. He was also kind of just a guy that was around, but he had more like I noticed him more as a character in this book than all the other ones.
I think him being like with Quest God, when we split up, bad things happen, was powerful. I loved that. Riddick is working so hard to add value.
Yeah. Like in the previous books, he was just a guy, is kind of what I mean.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. There was this moment where that I won't talk about, actually. It wasn't in the original outline, but this for me is in some ways the crux of the book. Speaking of Riddick, he finally finds out, because of the Irids, that Xaden is Venom.
Oh, yeah.
He finds out. And first of all, he's pissed because he's like, what the fuck do you mean you've been lying to me, Violet? Again. And she comes clean with everything. And his first reaction is, we actually need to tell our, like, what? Oh my God, what is her name? Rhiannon?
Yeah.
We need to tell Rhiannon. We need to tell these people. And his reason is the most beautiful thing I ever heard. He was like, everyone that knows, because she was like, because Violet at first is like, well, we need to keep the group as small as possible to keep Xaden safe. And he's like, who the fuck is keeping you safe?
Yeah, period.
He's like, literally, bitch. He's like, everyone that you just named would put Xaden before you.
Mm-hmm.
You need people on your side, because if anyone's going to get hurt from Xaden being Venom, it's you. So you need someone to be like, hey, this has gone too far. He's too far gone. You need people around you that are going to be speaking up for you, not just Xaden. And I do think Xaden's friends do a great job of being like, maybe you should not sleep with him and stuff.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think that was so powerful because I didn't realize how fucked up it was until he said that.
Oh,
and then
truly.
I was like, oh shit, you're right. I was like,
really, though.
This is setting her up for a potentially even abusive relationship. Like, I know Xaden loves her, but again, he is Venom. Like,
yeah, things are changing, dude. Who knows what's going to happen?
Things are changing. And people need to, and I think that just goes to show, like, the importance, and I think it's so easy to forget this in our lives. Like, it's so important to maintain relationships where someone is your person besides your person. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy to be like, oh, our friends are his friends, or, like, his family is our family. And it's like, no, bitch, then who's going to be with you when shit hits the fan? Yeah. No one. You need someone that's team Jalare, that's team Rachael. And I just thought that was such a powerful message to have. In this book that everyone's calling romantasy and stupid, I was like, oh my God, he's right. Like, I could not get over that. I thought about it for days.
Yeah, especially since, like, in the second book, their little squad kind of became this inseparable unit that did rely on each other. So it makes sense that Riddick's like, hey, wake up. We are here for you, And, like, yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, and even, book one, like, they survived. Everyone likes to be like, oh, riders get through, the strongest get through, and if someone's the weak one, we're going to let them die. But that's not true. Because the moment that Violet took her shoe off before Parapet and gave it to Rhiannon and was like, didn't know her, and was like, hey, you're going to die if you wear your stupid shoes out there, switch me. Like, there's this bond that was grown, and then obviously Riddick becomes part of that too, where it's like, no, we're all going to figure this out together. We're all going to survive together. This is no longer a solo sport. Like, they made that decision, and that's what makes them the most successful squad, because no one else is playing by those rules. And so, just really quite beautiful. Can we also talk about our queen being chronic health conditionitis? Like, I love her.
Yes.
I have no idea if it's true or not. But there's a lot of people that, posit what her health conditions could be, Violet's. One of the ones that seems really likely, like, obviously it's a fantasy book. They're not going to be like, oh, it's blah, 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 like real world lingo. But, like, I think that she might have the same chronic health condition as me. And obviously it's beautiful, even if it's not the exact same. But, like, when I realized that the other day, I saw a TikTok about it, and I was like, oh my God, it's totally that. Like, the way she's, like, passing out when she gets to that more hot island. She's, like, talking about how dizzy she is. She's like, whatever. I was literally, like, I cried. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, she's living with what I'm living with. And I don't know. Like, I just think, like, it's really beautiful. I think Violet, what she represents to so many people, anyone that has any sort of chronic anything.
Yeah,
right? Totally. And then we're having Sawyer, who lost his leg. Was it Sawyer who lost his leg?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Sawyer loses his legs, and we see him try to find a new way to get on his dragon, too.
Yeah, when everyone, like, when seemingly they're like, no, don't include him. Like, what's he doing here? No, he is determined.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, his squad wanted him there. But how do you help him in that moment? Because he's like, well, I don't know if I'm worthy of this dragon bond. That he had to make that decision too, that he was worthy too. His friends had to, absolutely, the support was part of it, but he had to decide it too.
Totally.
And I just think it's so, I don't know, like, I think that representation in this book series is, you know, I see a lot of people talk about, and ultimately, Rebecca Yarros is a white woman.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need to be making a conscientious effort to read as diversely as possible. But having these chronic health conditions be part of a fantasy world is something have never seen before, and this is my favorite genre. I'm niche down, bitch, and I've never seen this.
Especially in a series that's so popular.
Yes. This is not obscure indie stuff.
Yeah. No.
Which obscure indie stuff's great, but like to have that kind of representation be so like on the level is really cool. Not that we all have to be like Violet.
Right. And also the fact that it's not like mentioned a couple times and then forgotten. You know, like it's like we always are mindful of her chronic conditions. Like every time we go into a battle, I'm like, oh no, like I always worry for her. You know, I know she's a strong, amazing woman, but I still worry for her. So,
yeah, you know, there's some things that she can do, and we see that, right? Like with like the helping her muscles with like the tape and things like that. But ultimately, like I think it's just so much part of who she is. And she's always having to find new accommodations for herself. No one is except him.
Yeah.
And a little bit Satan. People aren't really helping her find accommodations.
Yeah.
And I think that was Dain's, ultimately, that's why we all hated Dain in book one, is instead of helping find accommodations, he was like, well, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I think, like, how it's sad that you have to find your own accommodations in the world.
Right.
That is real, bitch, though. I think whether we are, Empyrean's really militaristic, but that's how it is, like, in America, too. There are very few accommodations that are actually accessible. And so, like, it makes sense that it's constantly on her mind because she's having to constantly be one step ahead of it.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. Shall we lead into the ending?
Sure. What do you want to say about it?
Well, okay. One thing I think is important to note, I was kind of jarred by the POV changes, especially since they were not the last chapters, like the last chapter of the book.
Yeah, it was not an epilogue kind of situation.
No, we're like, it would make sense for a POV change. And so we got Ree's and Imogen's POVs, which is fun. I'm glad we had them. You know, it was telling other parts of like what was happening, so we were outside of Violet's head for a second. But I was like, okay, what are we doing here? So it makes me wonder, is the next book going to be multi POV? You know, or are we going to get like specific one-off chapters that are just, you know, her squad, or like, you know, Xaden's friends, you know? So I'm curious to see like why that choice happened, to have those two specific POVs that were not epilogue or like ending things.
Yeah, it would be weird if we had this really close, like very emotional POV with Imogen losing her lover. Actually, was it Imogen? Who lost their lover? Their best friend.
Imogen lost their best friend, but apparently, from what I've heard, everybody can get mad at me. I totally believe they were lovers, but apparently she was dating somebody else.
Yeah, I think it kept. I said the word lover, but I think it's just because their friendship was so close that.
But I'm not sure if like on Imogen's end if it was purely platonic or not. But regardless, somebody she really cared about died.
Sure, and bare minimum, they're incredibly best friends. Like I cannot emphasize how bestie they are. This is not like, you know what I mean? Like these are the kind of people that like, this is your person, like Christina Yang and Meredith Grant. Like more so than their husbands, they call each other first. That's the kind of level of bestie we're talking about here. Yeah, that was emotional as fuck, but it would be as emotional as it was, it'd be very fucking weird if then we don't get more of her POV in the next book. I would just be like, well, then why did we do that?
Yeah. Or even like Rhiannon's was pointing out just like what she's doing as like leading things on the other end of the war. And like that could be interesting as we move forward, because obviously Violet's in her own center of everything that's really intense. So it's good to have an outside POV. But again, I don't know what the choice and intent was there for future books. So she's cooking. We'll see what that's all about. But
everyone was so dramatic about the ending.
I was.
You were. For some reason, I wasn't dramatic at all. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
The second it was like, oh, I can't remember what happened, I was like, boring. Like, I was like,
yeah, well, like, okay. I sent Rachael a voice memo right after I finished the book. And I was so like, what the fuck? First off, that she's apparently married to Xaden. That's a big what the actual fuck. Okay?
Well, we're assuming because there's a ring on her, right?
Yeah.
But she literally doesn't remember.
She literally doesn't remember. And the little chapter heading before we learned that was about, it was from like the codex or something, basically saying like outlining who can marry who. And I was like, oh no. Oh yeah. Okay. So it says, while cadets are strongly encouraged not to form romantic attachments while studying in the quadrant, lieutenants are permitted to marry whomever they choose upon graduation. And Xaden is at least a lieutenant.
But he's also like full Venom now, right? Because in the battle he like was full dark mode, like so much so that he because we have his paw for a second. Right. It's like, oh, I felt Violet like caress, like her energy caress my darkness. Yeah. And it like helps him, grounds him just slightly. But even then, he wouldn't have recognized Violet without that, which is fucking crazy. Like he's gonna go serve the Dark Lord now. Like he's full. Yeah. So I just
So I mean, I like when I heard that chapter heading, I was like, are they fucking married? Is that where we're going? You know?
Sure.
And that's where we're led to believe. And then the second we learned she doesn't remember the previous 12 hours, I was like, what in the YA bullshit are we doing?
Maybe it'll get explained in a way that we feel satisfied with, but it just felt cheap. And also it brings up some concerns about consent.
Yeah. Because we don't know if she consented or not.
Well, so in Light Lark, another really famous book talk series, one of the like the Shadow Daddy, like erased her memories. And she doesn't find out till book 2. And she had not consented to it. And so part of me, again, where Xaden's full Venom, how much of what happened did Violet consent to? And that's a really sad thing to think about. Also, I mean, part of me is like, that's why I think I'm so obsessed where Rebecca Yarros is like, oh yeah, they're endgame. Like, sure, they're endgame, but like, he's like kind of dead. It's like marrying someone the night before they go off to battle and they die in a war, or like the day before they die of cancer. Like, you're marrying them because you love them, but you know you can't be together. That's kind of what it fucking feels like.
Yeah.
And so I just don't know.
And then also we got a moment where Violet is like talks with Andarna, and so she's back. And I was like, how did that all happen? Maybe that was in the 12 hours she doesn't remember. We don't know. So it was definitely a big like wow factor, shocking ending, which I guess we've kind of gone with each Fourth Wing book. But I was very shocked and kind of like, what is going on? I'm on team what's going on. And I want to know what's going on eventually. But I'm like, I don't know where we're going to go. I don't know where we're going to land.
I wasn't like, oh my God, how am I going to live for 2 years before the next book comes out?
I'll live without it. It's fine.
Right. Which, thank God, I'm not that way, right? Thank God. What's funny is when Xaden went Venom last series, I thought that meant he was a goner already.
Yeah. We were led to kind of believe with what we knew.
Yeah, so to have this whole other book where it was like, oh, they're kind of like together, I was like, what? Like, which obviously I was into it. I'm glad we had that time with Xaden. But so I don't know. Yarros in her last chapters, I just don't take them seriously.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll probably re-listen to it with the dramatized version. And I know part 1 comes out in April. So
I'm still in my Iron Flame reread. Dramatized. I really am enjoying them. I like the dramatized audios. I don't like the music and the sound effects.
Yeah.
They drive me up a fucking wall, but I think the actors are great.
Yeah. The music and sound effects that don't make sense are kind of jarring, but
well, okay, so some of the music, because they're probably using like unlicensed or like very cheap licensing music, it's like cringy. Like I'm like, this is not adding to the scene, y'all.
I'm like, just take it out. Just no, cut it.
One time it was a smut scene, and there was like this weird sound, and I like couldn't figure out what the fuck it was. I think it was supposed to be like a bed hitting the head, like the headboard hitting like the mat, but it was so rare that it was happening. I don't know. I was just like, and it was kind of creaky. Like I was like, guys, like we do not need this that bad. I promise you. Anyway, it was just really funny, but I'm loving them.
Cool. Before we go, do you have any fan corner announcements?
I just ordered a sticker that I think fans of this book series will like. It's a little kitty. It has on like a little harness that has dragon wings. She's an orange kitty. And she has a little collar with a broccoli on it. So I think y'all might like her, but I'm excited to see her regardless. So that'll be hitting the shop probably soon. I say that all the time though, that don't launch things, so I don't know. Still have some stuff that was from my admin box that I never listed, like independently.
Oh, okay.
It was supposed to all unlock on the days. Whatever. We'll get there eventually.
You'll get there eventually.
We're working on it. So that's my fan corner announcement.
Oh. And then your actual book comes out March 11th.
Soon. So, and you get a sticker if you order within the first week. I'll buy more if I have to. It's not that serious. They're like this little teddy bear. They're waterproof stickers that come with it. I might do a bookmark too for pre-orders / first week of orders. Unless you buy on Amazon. If you buy on Amazon, it's fulfilled from Amazon. It's print on demand from Amazon. I have nothing to do with that. So get anything. But so that's really exciting. Please buy my book. Yeah. But like also no pressure. Everyone, please tell us what we missed in our discussion of Onyx Storm today. Tell us your hot takes. Tell us the things you like. Tell us what you think of Dain. Like, are we team this, or are you like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Let us know in the comments on YouTube if you're on YouTube. Otherwise, you can Instagram DM us at FanCorner Creation. It's also fancornercreations@gmail.com. So, yeah, I love it when y'all do that. I think that happened a lot in our episode for Cornelius Fudge. We had a lot of write-ins.
Oh, slay.
We talked about. So, yeah, well, you know, it's fun to talk about. I don't know what the next podcast episode will be, so stay tuned for exciting times.
Tell
us what you want to see. We're probably going to continue the Harry Potter series, though, for sure. Obscure characters. So we still have some things up our sleeves here. But other than that, we hope you have a very magical day.